Hey folks, Real Honesty with John Ritland. I'm John Ritland. This is the second part of my top 100 worst horror movies history list. Least favorite, worst, whatever you want to call it. Um, and basically, I'm just coming here with more movies where if there are certain ones I just, talk about, oh, hey, they're not good because of this and skip over. I got 100 movies to cover. I mean, that's quite a bit to cover. So, yeah, I might skip over a few things, but don't worry. I'm going to cover quite a few things here. I still got 89 movies, and as I said in the first part, there's going to be times where I glut just a certain series into one selection. So, yeah, it's almost like a top 125 list. Like, if you factor everything in, it's probably more like top 110. But you get the point. There are certain ones I've split up and stuff like that because they try to distinguish themselves, but ended up just being the same. So anyway, let's just move on from that. Number 89, The Unborn, had at the time Odette Yustman. At least I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. She was in Cloverfield. She was the beautiful, olive skin, dark hair girl that was in there, and she was in this about you know possession, like just it was some silly movie about possession and stuff like that, and like the a demon trying to basically get into her and stuff like that. It was a convoluted story of demonic possession that really wasn't all that good. And why Gary Oldman was in this, I have no idea. Now Odette looked great. She looked great. I'm sure she still looks good now. I mean, I don't think she's done a ton of movies since, or at least none that I've been aware of. This kind of put the kibosh on her rise to fame, because this movie, I'm sorry, you people can like it if you want, but this just was really, really, really bad. Like, this was Exorcist 3 levels of bad. And I never even cared for The Exorcist, and I almost actually put The Exorcist on this list because I just did not really like The Exorcist at all, but I decided no, leave it off because there's far worse movies than a movie that I feel was overhyped but a lot of people liked. And that's just my personal opinion on The Exorcist. But The Unborn was just, it's like it was that weird like from like like in like the late 2000s to early 2010s, that like glut of like horror movies that just really were just like pushed out by studios to make a quick buck, but offered nothing new. If you don't offer anything really scary, then there's really nothing to it. To me, it was a lot like The Woman in Black, which is just one that I just don't understand why people like The Woman in Black. I just didn't find it scary at all. That's another one that deserves a mention, even though it's not on here because as bad as it was, it's not in the top 100. But yeah, The Unborn, despite especially Gary Oldman being in it, it just wasn't good. Now there was a pretty cool scare of this you know demon taking over a grandma and twisting the head around, all that stuff, and a little bit of computer generated body horror stuff, because they didn't seem, you can't really do much body horror anymore. At least you can unless you have a budget, or a small budget and a big imagination, or you have the care to want to do body horror. But besides that, I mean, and even that really wasn't that chilling. It was a pretty mundane movie that limped along, and they tried to end it sort of like The Omen, just with more flash. It didn't work. Number 88, Lake Bodom. Um, a Shudder exclusive. Shudder, by the way, is a great streaming service that I recommend you guys check out. It's really cheap, and I'm not sponsored by them, but that's how I found this. And they got some pretty good horror movies on there, and some stuff that they're always streaming. It's a really cheap price, I think, for US at least. And I think it's only available in the US. It might be available in other countries. It's $4.99. $4.99, maybe with taxes, like $5.50. At the most, it's $6, and you get access to a lot of horror movies and a lot of stuff like from Italy and other countries. That's pretty cool stuff. This, however, just I don't know if they funded this. I don't know if this was just release exclusive to Shudder. I know it was a foreign movie. Four people go camping. All but one of them ends up dead, and there's no likable characters at all. The two women are pretty cute. There's a couple decent kills, but there there's so little of a story here that, I mean, I guess you're not really supposed to root for any of them. But just the idea is like, really, I mean, that's it. That's what the big deal is. That's what the big reveal is. Big reveal is, okay, this one girl loved the other girl and faked this whole thing of her having a leaked pic so they could kill these two guys and these girls can end up together. And then this other serial killer with this tow truck ends up, killing one of them, and the other one's driven insane. It's not very good. It has some really good, locations and everything. And I like the dark picturesque stuff of like nature and the woods and the lake and everything. But no likable characters, nothing really good at all. And I mean, I'm all for good horror. I'm all for horror that makes us, root for people to die. This just wasn't good. Get Shudder for sure, but maybe you guys will have a different opinion if you see this. I did not care for it. Like I said though, two girls were really really pretty though. Number 87. You know what? It's on there. The Woman in Black. And the reason The Woman in Black is on there. Originally, I had The House at the End of Time on there. House at the End of Time was bad, but I've seen worse. The reason The Woman in Black is actually on there, and The Woman in Black 2, is it just, neither one was scary at all. I mean, the first one had Daniel Radcliffe, and he was trying to break out of the Harry Potter thing. So yeah, that one deserves a mention. The sequel's actually going to officially be on this list. Because the sequel was unnecessary, badly paced, badly done. Everybody just had to do stupid shit just to advance the plot. There was nothing to it. There was nothing to this at all. And that's what was really, really, really sad about it, is you took a concept from the first, Woman in Black, which really wasn't all that good, and you just basically shot all, shit all over it. And did a direct to DVD, direct to streaming service that, direct to streaming service version that really wasn't good. I mean, there really wasn't anybody good in the cast and everything. This was like low budget horror that wasn't really all that good. Whereas a movie, and I'm gonna praise one called The Awakening, actually had some pretty good horror elements to it, some good psychological horror and everything to it. But yeah, The Woman in Black 2, no, did not get that. So House at the End of Time, you're off the list. Woman in Black 2, you're on the list. Number 86, New Year's Evil. Christmas Evil also gets a mention here, and Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, Garbage Day. Check that gif out, it's just hilarious. It's one of the worst kills on the face of the planet. But New Year's Evil in particular gets it because the motives of the killer are ridiculous. The pacing of it is really really bad. I mean, it was done in 1980, and it just, there wasn't anything. There wasn't anything really to root for. I mean, none of the kills were that inventive. There just wasn't a lot of, there wasn't a lot of stuff where you're like watching like, okay, hey, great, this might be some fun little cheesy late 70s early 80s horror. No. Just the stuff that was happening, and the stupid kills and the stupid plot and the bad acting. It's just, if you watch it, just watch it with friends. I'm not advocating get drunk because I'm straight edge, but if you need to get drunk to watch it, I don't blame you. It may drive some people to drink because it wasn't very good. It really wasn't at all. Number 85. This one's gonna give me some hate. It Follows. And I'll tell you why It Follows is getting on here. It just, I'm sorry, maybe it's just me. Maybe I just watched it and I wasn't in the best mood, even though I was in a pretty good mood. Maybe I wasn't in the mood necessarily to watch horror, even though I wanted to watch some horror movies. And I'm like, hey, I'll watch this. I didn't get the appeal. I just didn't get the appeal. I like the time period it took place in. The idea of a demon that comes after you, unless you pass it on to somebody, a basically sexually transmitted demon, sounds like a different type of monster and everything, and certainly something that people should, remember as being pretty fun, like, as far as like cheesiness and everything. but it just none of the scares were that much were that good. The hair pulling thing on the beach wasn't really all that good. The it taking different forms and following you. I don't know. This just something about this just wasn't very good. It just wasn't. It wasn't scary to me. The whole pool scene was absolutely ridiculous, and trying to capture it under a bed sheet and shoot it, but that didn't work. Or capture it in the pool, that didn't work. It just, I don't know. It just to me, I just didn't get why It Follows was really that good. I can see why people liked it because it certainly was different, and I mean, it was like oh, like slow, losing grip on reality. Oh crap, we're not going to be able to stop this demon at all. This is not good at all. This is not good. Period. The unfortunate thing is, it just it just to me it just wasn't scary. It Follows was just not scary to me. It just I don't know. It's like anytime I watch it, I always think I always think that if I hear something's good, like if I hear, and I was just making sure I marked on my list where I left off. If I hear something's good and I hear enough about it, and it seems like a different type of horror movie, I'll give it a look because it's hard to be different in horror and actually be good. I give them props for trying something different. It just wasn't scary to me. It wasn't scary. It wasn't chilling. It was sloppy. It was really sloppy and not very well acted. I mean, the girl in there was decent enough and she was cute. Um, Not that cute's necessarily a factor, but it was it was just one of those. To me, it was boring. It was really, quite frankly, boring and not very scary. Do I get why people liked it? Sure. I just didn't. I just didn't get the appeal. And now we go to number 84, Almost Human. The guy, there's this time in a cabin, this guy gets sucked up and everything by alien forces. This other guy has nosebleeds. 2 years later, the guy that got sucked up by aliens comes back and he goes on a killing spree because he's possessed by a goddamn alien now. Or he is a goddamn alien. He's trying to impregnate a woman. It's really awkward and stupid. Really stupid, by the way. Fun fact, though, after I had tweeted about this, and this was days later, the director of the actual movie had liked some of my tweets. I wasn't very complimentary of the movie. I had to do a little backtracking and whatever. Because I'm not going to fault the cast. I'm not going to fault the director. The idea could have been far more ambitious. And they had to rein it in because of the budget. And because of the small scale. I don't fault them for trying to do something like this. Because the idea behind it wasn't necessarily bad, but the execution, like, there wasn't anything likable about it. And I mean, I know it sounds like a recurring theme, but there really wasn't anybody likable in the movie. It wouldn't have been that hard to kill the guy. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't care if he had an alien parasite in him or not. That guy didn't seem like he was necessarily the strongest person in the world. He seemed like an alien possessed lumberjack with the way he was dressed. But I don't know. The ending was ridiculous. The part where he impregnates a girl is ridiculous. The part where our hero kills the girl at the end because he thinks that an alien parasite's going to take over, and then he gets shot. It was just a bleak, depressing, not very good movie. And it was taking place in a small town, so everybody was like, okay, maybe this guy really was a screw up or whatever. It just didn't. The movie just didn't set well with me. It just didn't. I just didn't care for it. I mean, I don't fault him for trying, but it just was not very good. It was not very good at all. And number 83, The Cube 2 Hypercube. Cube itself wasn't all that good, but it tried. Cube 2 was just like trying to be a little more inventive and weird, and it was just blah. Part of the reason I put Cube 2 on here is it just wasn't very good. It just wasn't. It's like, why wasn't it very good? None of the Cube movies, like I said, were particularly good, but you taking the concept of the first one when you had a cast and you had even though it was cheap sets, they did pretty well with it. This one just seemed, even though they tried to do more, they somehow did less. And the cast was less likable. And the kills and everything were less inventive and less, I don't know, I guess less shocking or this kind of stuff. It just, Cube 2 was not good. 82, Saw 3 through whatever. I haven't seen Jigsaw and I'm not going to. I've seen enough of the Saw movies to know Saw 1 had its moments and everything and at least had a bit of a story. Saw 2 sort of had a story with it. By the time I got to Saw 3, it was a torture porn aspect of it and it just stupid. I mean, Jigsaw has some nice quotable lines and everything. Even though Jigsaw dies in the third one, his protege takes over. He said, I think it's the third one. Could have been the fourth. I think it was the third one. They all blend together after a while, but I believe it was the third one. I didn't get these. I didn't get why people thought they were necessarily horrifying. Because to me, they weren't horrifying. To me, they were like the Hostel movies. It was just torture porn. And not very good torture porn as it is. I mean, and I know it sounds kind of weird to say that, but I mean, they weren't movies that it's like, okay, hey, they're bloody and everything and this kind of stuff, but there's kind of a story to it. There's no story to it. None of the characters were likable. Saw 4 and 5 in particular were pretty bad. But yeah, just the Saw movies just all get lumped in there. And number 81, more lumping in, Nightmare on Elm Street, pretty much from 2 to when Wes Craven's New Nightmare came out. Because Wes Craven's New Nightmare was fucking terrific. The first Nightmare on Elm Street was pretty damn good. Freddy's Revenge was ridiculous. I mean, it was much more comedic. But stuff like Dream Child, which was number 5, and Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, just... But by that time, the sequels were just ridiculous. And am I going to fault the cast? No. They tried. They did their best. It just... None of the sequels, especially past number 2, and even number 2 wasn't that good. None of the sequels until Wes Craven's New Nightmare were any good. I mean, they weren't... None of the kills, none of the characters, none of the stuff was any good. I mean, being comedic with your horror isn't a bad thing. I mean, look at the Evil Dead movies. They did just fine with that. The problem is not, if you're going to try to present it as serious, and no one's going to take it seriously, then there's no real point in doing that. It was a pretty dumb bunch of sequels. That much I'll say. Number 80, When a Stranger Calls. Camilla Bell is a beautiful woman who I'm sure is very, very nice. She was decent in Push. She was decent in a couple other movies. When a Stranger Calls is not one of those movies. Because it's going on the old urban legend thing, or the old scary story of the babysitter, that the kids are upstairs and the babysitter keeps getting phone calls. Have you checked on the children? You really should check on the children. That kind of stuff. And of course, the calls are coming from inside the house. That kind of stuff. That's basically what it is. This one basically just pumps it up a little bit more with a bigger house and this kind of stuff. And it kind of blows its cover by showing who the guy is, the killer is, a little too early. I mean, and then again, you really weren't even supposed to see who it was. It's supposed to be left up to the imagination, sort of. With this, it was pretty silly, and I mean, it's like the cast was really, really small, and it just... Camilla, at least I assume that's how you pronounce her name, just... She was not up to snuff here. It did not work. Like, When a Stranger Calls, it's like, why are you calling me? I mean, look, I'm sure she's very, very nice. This just was not good. No one really could save this material. It was basic material. I mean, even like stuff When a Stranger Calls Back, which will make the name Jill stick in your goddamn head forever. And you'll understand what I mean. You probably should watch the Riff Tracks version of that, When a Stranger Calls Back. Forget how good that was. I gotta watch that one again at some point. But anyway, it just, yeah. It's like when a stranger calls. It's like there was nothing scary about it, nothing bone chilling about it. It was like you were just going from scene to scene to scene. Like, okay, when do we get to the scary stuff? Well, okay, when do we actually get to the scary stuff? Okay, really, when do we get to the scary stuff? Wait, why are the end credits rolling? Wait, that was it? That pretty much describes when a stranger calls. And now we go to Jaws 3D at number 79. Dennis Quaid was in this. It took place in a massive, underground aquarium thing. And you thought that maybe it got this influenced the movie BioShock or the game BioShock. Weird how they never did a movie of BioShock. I would like to have seen that. I was gonna put Psycho 3 here, but Psycho 3 is so insignificant. Jaws 3D though, that one feels a little like the failings needed to be addressed a little more. Just it was done in 3D, so the whole craze of 3D and stuff like that. And I think even Jason Part 3 was in 3D, which was silly also. But it was, yeah, Jaws 3D was just really not good. I mean, Jaws 2 started the downward trend in particular because the girl playing the Screamer didn't die. The character, not the actual girl. I don't want the actual girl to die. But yeah, watching Jaws 3D, it's like, okay, the 3D effects were ridiculous. The scares weren't good. The shark somehow looked more fake in this. And it's like, okay, it was like trying to mix a bit of the Poseidon Adventure with Jaws, with the flooding and stuff like that, or at least, attempts at flight. It just Deep Blue Sea did it a lot better. That much I'll say. Deep Blue Sea did it a lot better than this. So that's where I'm going to leave that off. So covered 100 through 79 so far in the first two parts. So what do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree so far with what I said? Think I lumped too many movies in here? Well, too bad. It's my show. But thank you again for watching. I really do appreciate any support. I really do appreciate it. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Twitter link is in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Rithlin. I'm John Rithlin, and I will see you soon.